Hey guys, it's Generalkidd here. How's everyone doing today? So, for today's video, well, I went around and asked a lot of people their thoughts on theater mode recently, and I got quite a few responses and have quite a few bugs I came across myself. So, here's a list of 15 things that a lot of people generally agree about on the issues with Halo Infinite's theater mode. And the consensus is that, it needs a lot of work. It's pretty broken, and there's a lot of issues everywhere, and it's overall, it feels like a step back from previous theater modes. But let's take a look at what all the issues are. So the first one here, as you can see, is that when you get into a vehicle, a lot of times it tries to put you in first person, and this happens quite often for me, and it's just yeah, it's just really weird in theater mode. It kind of messes up the clip sometimes. Now this next one I did show in a previous video before, but like I said in that video, I could do a whole video on just all the issues of theater mode. So in this one, so we'll just start by watching what happens here. So as you can see, my friend dropped the ball there, and then all of a sudden, it looks like he's just shooting at me and reloading constantly, and some of the shots are actually hitting me and doing damage. So that looks like what's happening, but that's actually not what happened. For some reason, my friend's character in this theater mode clip went off script and started having a mind of its own in the theater clip. So this sometimes happens. Like sometimes characters just, in the recording have minds of their own. But what actually happened, and you could actually usually fix this issue by just rewinding the clip or skipping back. What actually happened is, well, really nothing actually. We just had a little bit of a stare off at this point, and yeah, no shooting at all, just stare off. But for some reason, every time I play this clip, he just goes off script and just shoots until I rewind the clip to fix it. So that's a pretty big issue there with theater mode. So for this next one, a lot of people brought this one up actually. This is a very common one throughout the community, but the outlines, if you want to turn off outlines, you have to do it while the clip is playing. If you pause and you turn it off, and then it is off now, but then when you resume it, it actually comes back no matter what you do. You can only actually turn off you can permanently turn off the outline on armors only while the clip is running, but when it's paused, it's only temporary until you resume it. Now for this next one, again, I showed this one before in the past as well, but a lot of scripted events and objects don't work correctly in theater mode, or sometimes they don't even spawn at all. So on a map High Power, when you play any objective game like Capture the Flag or Strongholds, and your team scores something, then this UNSC frigate up here will charge its cannon and then fire it at the banished ship in a distance. I know in the last video I said Covenant ship, and I heard quite a few people were correcting me about that. So there you go, banished ship. But in theater mode, that UNSC ship is just not there. It's just gone. And if you capture an objective in theater mode, you might hear like a sound effect of it still firing, but it's not there and it doesn't actually fire anymore at all. So that's completely missing and broken in theater mode. And it's only on this map, it seems. On the AA cannon on the other map, Deadlock, I think, that one is okay, if I recall correctly. Now this next one is also like a personal annoyance for me and a lot of people. But by default, there's no way to actually pan your camera up and down when you're in free camera mode. So in previous Halo games, usually, especially in the older ones, it would just be like left and right bumper to make your camera go up and down. Or I think in some later Halo games, more recent ones, it would be the B and A button to go up and down, I think. But on Halo Infinite, by default, there's nothing. I heard you have to like manually remap it yourself to get it to work. But by default, nothing. If you want to go up, you have to like look up and then fly up. You can't just simply pan up and down vertically. So that is something that the default controls should be adjusted for in a future update if possible. Now for this next one, sometimes, no, actually quite frequently. Actually no, I think every time. Yeah, I think this happens every time. But in theater mode, when you like start it up, or when you pause it to look at the game type and the map that you're playing on, it will pretty much every time show you the wrong map and game type. In this case, I'm playing CTF on high power, but at the beginning, and when I go to the pause menu, it says I'm playing Arena Slayer on Bazaar, which is obviously not correct. Now, this next one, you've probably noticed before as well. It happens every time for me, at least. But when you like fast forward, and then you stop fast forwarding, and resume the clip at normal speed, sometimes it will the clip will need to like catch up for like a second, and you'll see like your character's like very jittery for like a second after fast forwarding and resuming at normal speed. Like you see the flag there, it just like kind of like jittered a lot, and just like kind of went crazy for a second. That's because like the theater mode clip is trying to like catch up. At least that's how I interpret it, and that does happen quite frequently. Sometimes it's a lot worse than what you saw in the clip I had here. I've seen like it take it like a couple seconds to fully catch up. But yeah, and this next one's also another issue. So while watching the theater clip, if you use the left trigger to skip back to another part of the theater clip, sometimes if you skip back, it will switch to another player, and you'll completely lose track of whatever player you were currently on, and that pretty much happens quite frequently too. You just need to skip back like a couple times. Sometimes I heard even like the first time you skip back, it happens, and that you just lose track of whatever player you were on. For this next one, this is a bit of an odd one, but in the theater menu, when you go to your match history, you can see at the top it says like 1 to 12 of 48 clips, and then page 1 of 4. I think that's what it says. It's a little blurry on my screen right now, but yeah, basically like the count at the very top, it's incorrect, because once you switch pages to page 2, suddenly it says it's on page 2 of 1, and then you're on clips like 1 through 12. Something like that. The count just goes completely incorrect. But yeah, see the page numbers, everything like they do the count just completely goes like totally wrong. So that's another weird issue with the main menu UI, at least for theater mode. And also another big issue a lot of people have had with theater mode is that a lot of times, clips just don't save at all. Like, they may show up in your match history, but you won't have any footage. Like, it'll just say what your match results were, but you won't be able to actually watch the clip. It'll be gone. And sometimes this can happen after like a day. Sometimes it happens after a few hours. Sometimes it happens immediately after the game you just played. And if you want to look at the match history gets corrupted completely as well whenever like just no film clip saved. So you won't be able to really see like who was in your game, their stats and stuff like that will be all messed up and corrupted and just missing. And if you're thinking if you bookmark your clips to save them better, bookmarking is not reliable either, and they get lost or corrupted very easily. So a lot of times when you bookmark clips, just like with a match history, your bookmarks may still show up, but sometimes the recent ones will be okay, but the older ones, just like match history, will be no good. You may be able to see a little bit of information left, but there'll be no clip. The match results may be completely wrong or something like that. And yeah, it's just bookmarking in general is just totally unreliable, and you should not at the moment count on your theater clips being preserved by bookmarking. It's just pretty, unreliable right now. Now, this one I actually am not sure of personally, but a lot of people have told me, and I've seen a lot of people post on it as well, that theater clips on theater mode on PC, by default, if you're using mouse and keyboard, you don't have a way to actually go slow motion by default without a controller. If you're just on the keyboard, like you can see here on controller, you just gently press down the right trigger to go to slow motion, and based on how much pressure you apply, it goes at different speeds. But on PC, on keyboard and mouse only, that's just simply not possible. So I've been told. Now, for number 13, sometimes in theater mode, on the theater menu, on your match history, your clips can show the wrong image or info sometimes. So, here this is correct, deadlock, but then if I switch around a little bit, like here on Aquarius CTF, it showed the map Bazaar, and here it shows streets, all the wrong map images. It just a lot of times the default's to bizarre, it seems, which is in of itself pretty bizarre. Get it? For number 14, though, this is another one that a lot of people brought up as well, which is that there's no way in theater mode to actually turn off the theater controls and the theater instructions without turning off your entire HUD. So if you just want to play the clip in first person and have it just like your in-game, you know, with your HUD and everything, ammo counter and stuff, but you don't want to show the timeline or the theater instructions in top right corner, there's no way to actually do that. You can, it's like all or nothing really with the HUD and theater mode. You literally can't you can't just show like the in-game stuff. You have to have everything or nothing. So overall, the overall sentiments that everybody has with theater mode in Halo Infinite is that the controls are very clunky, very buggy, and not very intuitive overall. Like, it's just some things like, you know, like going to third person and rotating your camera around your character. That's actually not very intuitive at all. It's not obvious how to do it at first, because when you press Y to switch camera to third person, it's just like a locked camera in third person. You can't you can't rotate around. You have to go to free camera first, and then go back to third person, and then that'll be the third person that you can rotate around. But otherwise, you know, normally it's just not very intuitive, like how certain things are supposed to be done. It's a lot different from previous theater modes, and a lot of things aren't there by default either. So theater mode, you know, I'm very glad it's still back in Halo Infinite. I was kind of worried that like theater mode would be going away, because it's, you know, its functionality has been reduced a lot over the years in previous games. But, you know, even though it's here in Infinite, it still needs a lot of work, a lot of fixes, and a lot of improvements. So hopefully this video will help bring attention to a lot of the stuff that needs to be fixed. But anyways, hopefully you guys found this video to be interesting, and if you did, then as always, make sure to leave a like, leave thoughts in the comments, let me know if there's anything else I missed with theater mode. And aside from that, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all next time. Bye guys!